This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order of the MPO Policy Board for the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County for the 11th day of April 2024. The first item is we need to do a roll call for the roster. Aaron Easter.
Aye.
David Byers. Is David Byers on? Okay. Gary Schroeder. Gary Schroeder. I saw him earlier. Steve Snyder.
Present.
Larry Leverance. Larry Leverance. Cindy Murray.
Here.
Julie Ginn.
Here.
All right. Doug, do we have enough to have a quorum?
We do, yes.
Okay. This says on my sheet here, Dave Byers is supposed to be here along with Gary Schroeder, so we'll watch to see if they get on later.
Tony, Dave is on.
There's Dave.
Yeah.
Gary's here. I had a technical issue. I can hear you now.
All right. Thank you. Let the record reflect that Gary Schroeder is here. And I can see Dave Byers, but there he is. Dave, can you hear us? All right. Well, he can hear, but evidently can't answer. So let the record reflect that Dave Byers is also present. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Now, you should have had those communicated to you. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Steve Snyder, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as communicated.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
Easter.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, we'll conduct a roll call vote on the approval of the minutes. Aaron Easter.
Aye.
Dave Byers. Just raise your thumb. There you go. Thanks, Dave. Gary Schroeder.
Aye.
Steve Snyder.
Aye.
Larry Leverance. Guess he's not going to be with us today. Cindy Murray.
Aye.
Julie Ginn.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Resolution T24-05, resolution to amend the 2024-2028 Transportation Improvement Program, and Doug will be handling that.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. In front of us is a request to amend the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. This is part 2 of allocating our additional FY 2024 federal highway funds. And last month, we allocated those funds to 2 projects, the South 9th Street project for right-of-way, and then also the Soldiers Home Road project. This is the 3rd project, and the reason why, again, is that we are presenting it today and did not present it at the previous meeting, was that there additional step needed because this is for the city bus, and their board of directors first reviews and then approves the TIP amendment before this board approves it. The board did approve it on March 27th. So we are now moving this forward, and of our additional federal funds, we are allocating the money, which was approximately $146,200 to add to the paratransit bus replacement project. So we are asking for the policy board to approve this TIP amendment through resolution T24-05. Are there any questions or comments?
Brian, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Just that this will help us get closer to the 80% federal match on these. We were overmatching in order to buy these vehicles, and this helps us spend more of the federal and less of our local funds. So much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? All right, we'll conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter.
Aye.
Dave Byers. Gary Schroeder.
Aye.
Steve Snyder.
Aye.
Cindy Murray.
Aye.
Julie Ginn.
Aye.
The resolution is passed. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is Resolution T24-06, resolution to amend the 2024-2028 Transportation Improvement Program. And Doug will handle this one also.
This is a request from the Indiana Department of Transportation to amend our TIP, and they are using federal transportation funds to fund at least the healthy majority of the helper program. As you see in the staff report, that these funds go to LTAP, or the Indiana Local Technical Assistance Program, and they use these funds to assist local agencies, improve the safety of the roads, conduct road safety audits, participate in those audits, provide safety education and outreach, data analysis and dissemination, and so forth. So in order to use federal funds for this program, the project must be programmed in our TIP and also the STIP. So the Technical Transportation Committee did review this request at their March meeting and recommend approval of putting it in our TIP. So APC staff is asking for your approval to program this project in the TIP through resolution T24-06. Are there any questions or comments?
Steve Snyder here. I got a quick
Yes.
question. Do we have a timeline where this particular money has to be spent? Is there a sunset attached to it?
The federal funds that they will be using here are for, I think it says in there, phase 5. And when they program these federal funds, they will use a portion of it in 2025, 2026, 2027, and 2028. So unlike NDOT's requirements on local governments, in which we need to have our certain federal funds allocated or obligated by a certain date, NDOT does not follow that typically. So they are programming these individual projects in the future so they can tap into future years' funds by those years, so they don't run into that issue. But they do not have the limitations that we do in terms of obligating the funds.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter.
Aye.
David Byers. Gary Schroeder.
Aye.
Steve Snyder.
Aye.
Cindy Murray.
Aye.
Julie Ginn.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is Resolution T24-07, resolution to adopt the 2026 United Planning Work Program. And Tim will be handling that presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is something that I've brought up a couple times at previous meetings, and it's something that we have to do every year. It is a 2-year document that we prepare. So this is the first year of the 2 years, which is a little bit more intensive of the two. But we will also be updating this next year, mostly some financial stuff. So what this kind of document explains is how we spend the federal money that we get for transportation planning work. That's required to be documented. And so this plan has a bunch of that kind of information, which I have listed here. So specifically, some of the items that might be of most interest would be the financial information about how we spend that money, as well as the planning emphasis areas, which are something that the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration put together every year to kind of help guide us a little bit to make sure that we are hitting some of these key points. And there are 3 that we have this year. Out of those, the last one, the urbanized area metropolitan planning area boundaries, we are well on top of. That one's actually pretty much already done. But they did include it as an emphasis area, so it's included in the plan. As far as the approval process for this, we put together what we call our cost allocation plan, which talks about some of that financial stuff that I mentioned earlier. And we received an approval of that on January 17th of this year. We received some comments on February 29th, and we've worked with the federal agencies and the state DOT to address those comments. And those comments have been addressed in the version of the UPWP, which we're asking you to adopt. Briefly, this is what it looks like. This is the table of contents that I'm showing. We've had this up on our website, this draft version now, for a while. So if there are any specific questions about this, I will definitely be happy to answer those at this time. I know this is a pretty technical document, so I didn't want to throw too much information at you, but I do want to leave a chance for questions if there are any.
All right. I don't hear anybody or see any hands up for questions for Tim. So Tim, thank you for your work on this and your explanation, and we will conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Dave Byers, Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Julie Ginn.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the administrative modification to the 20 modification, plural, of the 2024-2028 TIP plan. There are 2 of these, both of which will be presented by Doug. And as you're all aware, this is a requirement to just bring these administrative changes to our attention, but it does not require a formal vote. So Doug, if you would like to proceed. You're muted, Doug.
Oh, sorry about that. As you see here, this is the first of the 2 TIP modifications. The modifications are something we can do internally that do not, that only make smaller changes, and the Federal Highway Administration allows us to do this through or via a letter. So we have 2 to present to you. This one first on April 4th. And NDOT notified us that in the TIP, we have a project specifically addressing wrong way interchange issues, and they have a project. And basically what they did was, when they went out to bid for this project, there were no bidders. So what they decided to do is break the project into 3 smaller ones. And they still have 1 project in this area, specifically in Tippecanoe County. And what we did was switch out the project that was initially in the tip with this updated one, so that when they do go to bid, it will be of a smaller nature in hopes that it will attract more bidders. The second request, if you could scroll please, Tim, was on the same date. And of course, as we discussed a pinch earlier, was that NDOT does have a specific deadline in which we must obligate our current year federal funds. That deadline is coming up fairly quick. So in an effort to make sure that we do not lose any federal funds, we have $71,703 that were still allocated to the Morehouse Road project. And those funds were moved to the county's Bridge 65 and 64 project, specifically for the preliminary engineering phase. Those projects, the preliminary engineering, were not funded at the 80-20 level. The county was spending quite a bit more with local funds. So this brings the federal local portion closer, not exactly to, but closer to the 80-20. So we did execute this on April 4th as a means to obligate or allocate or actually obligate these funds. So are there any questions with these two tip modifications?
All right, hearing none. Thank you, Doug, for bringing those to our attention. We'll move on to the APC progress report. And under that, we have the MPO update. And there are several items under that, all of which Doug will be handling. So, Doug, go ahead and get started.
Thank you again, Mayor. This information that we have here first, vehicles available by household, every 5 years, kind of give you some background information, we go through and update our long-range transportation plan. And in doing the next plan update, we are going to actually build a brand new traffic model. We're one of the few smaller MPOs that actually can do this work in-house. And in doing or building a traffic model, we need specific socioeconomic data. And we are going to, over the next several months, start rolling this data out to give you an idea of some of the information that actually goes into the model. One of the pieces that is needed is vehicle data, and we specifically look at the number of vehicles. And here is kind of a table of information. Of course, all this information is from the census, from the 5-year American Community Survey. And what I found interesting is that, for one, the top number shows the number of occupied dwelling units. And in 2022, the census said there were 73,327 dwelling units that were occupied. And they also said that the total number of vehicles were 127,078. If you think about it, that's a lot of vehicles. The census also breaks down that the vehicles and vehicle ownership by owner occupied and rental occupied. And if you look at the part that has owner occupied, specifically at the vehicles per dwelling unit, you will see it's fairly consistent, 2.05 to 2.07 over the period shown. But if you look further down and look at the renter occupied, for 2022, it was 1.35. But if you look at 2016, 2017, and 2018, it was slightly higher, 1.39. I don't have any answers as to why it was slightly higher, but this is part of the data that we use to get the traffic model up and running. And then when we calibrate it, then we can test various road projects, various road closures to see what kind of impacts will those improvements or changes occur on the network. So part one of a series of socioeconomic data rollout. Any questions or comments? Okay, going on to the next one. I have some good news. Several months ago, we looked at, discussed, and this board approved the adjusted urban area boundary for our area, and all of the other MPOs did submit theirs as well. It was reviewed by the Indiana Department of Transportation and then ultimately by the Federal Highway Administration, and both agencies did approve it. So we're presenting today that on March 21st of this year, the Federal Highway Administration approved all of the adjusted urban area boundaries that were submitted to them through NDOT. So the boundary that we presented earlier is now official. So good news. Next on the update list is US Bike Route 37. We do not have any new news for it. We did hear that NDOT staff is still working with the commissioner to have his authorization and signature for the route. NDOT is completed all of the additional paperwork that is needed, that needs to be submitted by them to the AASHTO agency, and that meeting is coming up fairly quick. I believe it is April 22nd and 23rd of this month. So if they do approve it without the commissioner's signature, it will be provisionally approved. And if he does turn it in before the meeting and AASHTO reviews it and approves it, it will become official. So we are apparently feel in a much better situation than we are in or were last year at this time. So all fingers crossed. Hopefully next month we will have some good news that the US bike route is an official route through Tippecanoe County. Any questions or comments? Okay, going on to the next sheet is the status of our federal funding obligation. And this is basically just making you all aware of our status of getting our federal funds obligated and where it is going. And on the top box, you see all of the obligations that we have done this state fiscal year with our federal funds and where it went to. We did do some trading, as you see, and that was trading back for certain projects. For example, the last three we see here as trades that will be used for next year, or later this year for the Morehouse Road project. And if you look more specifically, the highlighted boxes, those were the funds were remaining that need to be actually obligated by April 22nd. So earlier in the meeting, we discussed or presented the $71,703. And the good news that I have to announce today is that yesterday, officially, we did obligate those funds. So we are now down to the $13,968, and we are working to get those obligated. And I hope that by maybe tomorrow or maybe early next week that we can actually actually obligate those funds. So when we do that, we will be officially done in obligating all of our federal funds for 2024 that were originally allocated to us. The additional federal funds that we received, we have until September, basically the end of September, to obligate those. And once they are programmed in the STIP, we will work towards obligating those and getting that taken care of. So good news is that we are spending our federal funds, and we are going to leave no federal funds on the table and give them back to NDOT. We're going to keep them all. The last information I have is the NDOT 18-month letting list. For the first project number 1, that was let in March. As you can see, raised pavement markings project, refurbishing those. You can see what the engineering estimate was. There was only one bid received, and you can see that the project was awarded and that the engineering estimate was actually fairly close to what it was bid for. The estimated completion date is fairly quick, June 15th of this year. Now, if we go back to the top, projects 2 and 3 are on the April 10th bid letting. I did look at that fairly quickly, and the information I saw for the Special 52 project, there were 3 bids submitted, and no bids were below the engineer's estimate. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that project. With the second one, the various locations throughout the Crawfordsville district, there were 2 bids submitted, and the low bid, which was under $800,000, was substantially less than the engineer's estimate, which was at $1.366 million. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that one, but it looks like that if the numbers work out, that will be let. So looking further down, of course, I always like to bring this up, especially the State Road 225 truss reconstruction and repair project that is still on target for a November bid letting. Also on the November bid letting, we have Bridge 527, and then also the next phase of Morehouse Road. Looking further down the list, projects 12, 14, 15, and 16. Project 12 is on I-65, a small structure, a pipe lining project. That was originally on the March bid letting of 2025, but it's actually been moved back to the May 7th, 2025 bid letting. We do have a new project that's on the 9th Street project, so that is now actually on our 18-month radar. And then project 15 and 16 were all changed to a different bid letting. The project, the Indiana Veterans Home, that moved from a July 2025 bid letting to an August 2026 bid letting. And then for the one on State Road 38, that moved from an April 24 bid letting to sometime in 2026. No specific date on that yet. So that is a quick update of the 18-month letting list. Are there any questions or comments regarding this or any of the other information that was just presented?
All right. Well, thank you, Doug, for that. The very informative presentations there, and certainly is some good news in there. So we appreciate everybody's hard work on that. If there are not any questions on that, I would move to other business. Anything anyone wants to bring up today that has not been discussed? Okay, hearing none, then we'll go into our portion for citizen comments.
Okay, we currently have no public comments on Facebook or YouTube, but I'll time us a minute and see if any come in.
Thank you.
All right, it has been about a minute, and there are no public comments on Facebook or YouTube at this time.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. That concludes the meeting for the day. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Cindy. Conduct a roll call vote. Aaron Easter,
Aye.
Dave Byers, Gary Schroeder,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Julie Ginn.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.